second last rose of the evening.
I know.
How does that sit with you?
Honestly, it's been fine because I love listening to everyone.
Yeah.
I could listen to everyone all day.
Yeah, because I don't know, say going out first, you get to do it and sit back, but if you're last, you get to watch everyone else.
Yeah, but at the same time, between these group of girls, like, to be honest, we have such a level of support for each other that genuinely you're not focusing on yourself, you're just so ready for the next person.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
Now, you have a very important sponsor. Tell us about your sponsor, Jennifer.
I do. My lovely sponsor is AsIAm, which is the national autism charity in Ireland, and it's started by the lovely Adam Harris, who's here today.
Adam, you're very welcome to County Kerry, to Falter Road.
He made the journey down. But I could give you, a mission statement about what we try to do, but ultimately, I think what we try to do is empower every single autistic person on the island of Ireland to feel like they can fulfill their dreams and take part in society in whatever way that is meaningful to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the crux of it. Really.
Yeah. You were diagnosed with autism yourself?
Yes.
At what age, Jennifer?
26.
That's a late diagnosis.
It is, yeah.
So even though you found maybe solutions when you're 26 with your diagnosis, like say there's 26 years of living that you had done before that.
Yeah, and that is a part of diagnosis that people don't really talk about too much. I suppose is the idea that there's a relief that comes when you're diagnosed because you do feel different and you process the world differently. I know I experience things differently. I've experienced everything with my full soul all the time. Like when I laughed, it was the best, and when I enjoyed things, it was the 100%.
Full on.
Always, 100%. Which is why these experiences are incredible.
Yeah.
But that's maybe different to everyone else.
Yeah.
So I suppose when you do get diagnosed, there's a relief, but you also do have to go through a level of kind of reframing who you are and experiences you've had in the past, and now realising there wasn't anything wrong, there was just something different.
Yeah.
And actually that's totally okay.
Yeah.
And that's really liberating.
And do you think us as a society that we've learned a lot in the last while about that? Say, for example, as opposed to labelling people, say, using words like, that person's odd or strange.
Yes.
Have we changed that narrative?
I think we're changing it. I think it'll always be kind of, an in-process thing, but I think we've come very far, even in the last 10 years, it's been pretty amazing. I know in primary school and things like that, I would have had, thought been told I was a bit different or a bit odd, like that, odd, as Irish people, we tend to use that a bit, like that. But at the same time, I think we've come a long way in not being afraid of what a label means.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time people might have known they had a condition or anything like that, but the label was frightening. Whereas now the label can be empowering because it can bring understanding. Because,
like, say, you could meet somebody and not realise that they have autism.
Oh yeah.
And this is, I suppose, from as a society where we're coming from, we don't know that. But I think just listen to people like yourself and say all the work Adam has done there as well, that we can pick up the signs and not put these labels on people and actually think before we speak.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think people do really, really well with that, to be honest. But to be honest, I try to remember because, being diagnosed late means you have to, I suppose, explain it to people, like your family, your friends, things like that. And I suppose coming with that, you have to understand that people are asking questions. If they're asking questions in good faith, I'm going to meet them with good faith.
Yeah, 100%.
And with good intention.
Yeah.
And ultimately it's about keeping conversation open more than anything.
Yeah. No, this hasn't stood in your way now, Mrs. By the way. Like, say, you went off to UCG. What did you do in UCG? Or sorry, NUIG.
I know, yes. Yeah, I went to NUIG and I did creative writing and I did modern languages. Writing has kind of always been my dream. It's always been a way of self-expressing. I've been on this stage before in stage school. My lovely mom put me in stage school, to give me a bit of confidence, thinking I would love the pretend aspect of things. But in reality, I love the writing aspect of being creative. And I love languages, just words in general, to be honest. And then I did my master's as well in NUIG in disability communication.
Okay. So and when it comes to work then, what's the plan?
Yes.
What's the big plan? What's the big picture?
My big dream at the moment, I suppose, is continue working with AsIAm because I so value what we're doing at the moment. I work with the adults and generally hoping to kind of reduce social exclusion, make a community in Ireland. But also then personally, I really, really hope to start a PhD in September. Been accepted to a course in York to do literary practice, to talk about, I suppose, researching what it is to be represented in fiction. Because it's amazing. Most of us can probably think of a TV show or something where you say, God, that person's so like me.
Yeah.
But there's something so special about being autistic and seeing that clearly and thinking that, and to have it represented in an honest way. It's a tremendous feeling.
Now, have you gone to Tanzania or are you going to Tanzania?
No, I've gone to Tanzania.
What were you doing there?
Well, Tanzania, to be honest, after college, my friends and I, we wanted something different. And we kind of went as different as you can get. And we volunteered in Tanzania for the summer. And I know I told you this story earlier and I vaguely regret it. But I suppose we volunteered, I suppose, in very rural communities, doing a mixture of, I suppose, teaching literacy and things like that, but we also did quite a degree of HIV testing and meeting rural communities.
That's not dangerous.
Honestly, no, not at all, because we've come so far with that stigma as well, haven't we? It's just a conversation starter. At the same time, we had translators, and at the end of the day, it's just a finger prick. It's very, very easy. And people are open to the conversation, which is the main thing.
Brilliant,
But yeah, we did have a few funny experiences there, to be fair, which was great. But yeah,
I made it out alive anyway.
We did, just about. To be fair, do you know when you go to a place that's so different culturally, I think you really have to embrace it to the point that when you're there a few months, eventually you do just stop asking questions.
Yeah.
You just go along with it.
Head down.
Head down. And I think we probably, to a point, did that a bit too much. Like my best friend and I, we went and we were volunteering in a very remote village, and it was about 8 hours from the nearest town or small hospital. So the next day we were meant to be picked up, and it had been a surreal experience anyway, kind of sleeping out under the stairs as it was. And the bus was meant to pick us up, and no bus arrived. And we were told, this man called Freddie introduced himself and said, "I'll get a taxi." And we said, "That's perfect, no problem." And we had massive backpacks and everything with us. And a rather skeletal-looking motorbike arrived. And he said, "Well, get on." And at that point, once again, you just go, okay. This is what you do. This is the experience I embraced. So, and you kind of go with it. But we didn't realise it was illegal to have, for a driver to have more than one passenger on a motorbike in Tanzania.
Yeah.
These are very small, to be fair. And we squeezed on. I was on the back, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll go nice and handy, basically, if you haven't ever been on a motorbike." And he went at a rate of knots. And I nearly lost my life. But the thing is, he said, "Don't worry, once we get on the open road, it'll be nice and smooth." But sure, it was the day of the mart. So there was cattle everywhere. And my grandparents are here, I'm not shy around cattle.
You can handle yourself.
Kind of, but I'm used to being around them. So, but these cattle were kind of different, I suppose, because of the heat. They were so much more tired, and they weren't as jumpy. So he was like, Freddie told us, "Don't worry, if you rev a few times, they move out of the way." We naturally said, "Okay, Freddie," which was famous last words, really. And we slammed into the back of the cow very fast, which was bad for the cow, sent us spinning.
Yes.
And we got off, and once again, it's just so funny the things you adapt with. You just get up.
You just get on with it.
We just got back up, and he said to us, he was like, "Don't worry, I need you to brush it off, you'll be fine. Walk it off." And we got back on, and I'd say about another 200 metres down the road, he immediately stopped and said, "One of you has to get off and walk." And we were all like, "What?" And my friend and I were like, "Is this the point when we don't accept this? What do we do?" And I was like, "Why?" And he said, "There's a police checkpoint up ahead, and it's illegal for one of you to be here. So I need you to pretend you're a complete stranger coming from another village somewhere, and to walk the rest of the way." And God bless my friend, she took one for the team and let me stay on the motorbike. But I know, which was great. But the thing is, we arrived at the checkpoint. She said AK-47s, and we're standing there. And because the checkpoint was moving so slowly, at that point, my friend had caught up with us walking. And she was just slowly walking along. And they looked at her, and they looked at me. And we were the only white people for a very fair amount of time, and also wearing matching t-shirts. And they said to us, he said to me, and he just said it so half-hearted, I thought he was going to ask Freddie questions, and then the guard just was like, no, I have to ask the girl. And he was like, "Do you know this girl?" And I said no. I don't think I ever lied under pressure. Like that, and I was like, "No," and he was like, "Fine." He let us go, and my friend was just like, we got there.
Now, Jennifer, you have a party piece for us.
I do.
What are you going to do?
A spoken piece.
Lovely spoken piece. What is it about?
My spoken piece, what I'm aiming to do with this is to kind of show the different years of the Rose of Tralee experiencing it as an autistic child and teenager, but the importance of community and those connections. And to be honest, I have to say a really quick hello to a very special little girl in the crowd, which is Casey. Casey's here.
Hello, Casey.
And honestly, whilst I was thrilled to see you today and to talk to everyone, talking to Casey and I are both autistic, talking to someone who's so like-minded and everything, and her wonderful mom as well, has been the highlight of my day.
Casey, you're very, very welcome. Mom as well. course, the Lord. So, Jennifer, I'm going to leave you on.
Thanks. 6 years old and spellbound by the Denny Street lights. An ordinary street transformed by a thrumming, incandescent glow. I hold my dad's hand, tucked inside the pocket of his jacket, but I keep an eye on the glittering bulbs, feeling tugged upward by their beauty. 8 years old and holding a crisp €5 note. A lady paints my name onto a pink velvet headband and smiles, telling me that this stall is her entire life. Her being bursts with pride. Under the square's canopy of lights, I am illuminated by her joy. 12 years old, and the sticky wall arrives at Bird's Amusements. My cousins and sister exchange coins for plastic counters, but my heart sinks, growing heavy with fear. It's okay to want different things, my mother reminds me. And instead, I try candy floss for the first time with her, losing myself in the sweetness of the moment. 14 years old, and standing outside Vivaberg, watching the roses float by. There is a kaleidoscope of glee in the girls' smiles that is matched only by the mischief in the escort's winks, and I am almost sure the Sydney Roses wave was just for me. 17 years old, and the speakers on Denny Street funnel the beat directly into my heart, where panic threatens to bubble over. But my friends take my hand in theirs, and we dance until the Queensland Rose is crowned and fireworks fall. Later, with no one watching, I catch myself smiling. 19 years old, and my best friend and I sit side by side in a Denny Street doorway. The silence between us overwhelmed by our leaving cert results, the CEO college decisions mere hours away, and the never-ending vastness of the future. Slowly, my friend rests her head on my shoulder. 22 years old, I'm mesmerised by the brass band in the Grand Hotel. I watch couples of all ages dance and shimmy to the trumpeting beat. Their smiles only grow when they accidentally tread on one another's toes. I am tugged onto the dance floor for a siege of Venice, and I move from partner to partner, trusting there will always be someone to guide the way. 25 years old, and an ABBA tribute band plays in the dome. Under the white twinkle lights, my spine shivers in pleasure. I dance with my friends, and later, when joy-filled tears run down my face, they embrace me, loving the depth at which I feel. Now, I'm 27 years old. I stand with the conviction my mother dreamed I would one day hold, the confidence my father is forever proud of, and the fierce pride my sister and I hold for one another. I stand here as a rose, among young women who illuminate my life beyond imagining. I stand here because of the warmth of my father's hand, the vibrancy of that vendor's smile, the sweetness of the candy floss, a simple wave from a rose to an unsure teenager, dancing with my friends and shaking off the worries of the future, and the undeniable beat of Mamma Mia. I stand here as wholly, completely, and brightly myself.